Have you ever noticed how some people crumble the moment life gets tough while others rise above the storm stronger than ever? The truth is, every one of us faces criticism, rejection, and even manipulation by people who try to break our spirit, especially narcissists who feed on our weakness. But here's the secret. Mental strength is not about never falling, it's about learning how to stand up again, wiser and tougher than before. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to lose control of ourselves when someone knows exactly how to push our buttons? Think about it. If you're having a peaceful day, maybe enjoying your tea, and suddenly one text message, one sarcastic comment, one look from the wrong person and your entire mood flips upside down, it's almost like they have a remote control to your emotions. And the moment you react, they win. Now, let me tell you something powerful. No one can control you without your permission. People may throw words, insults, or manipulations your way, but how you respond, that's always your choice. And the day you realize that, the game changes. I remember meeting someone who told me a story about her workplace. She had this colleague, let's call him Arif, who always made cutting remarks. If she finished her work early, he'd say, showing off again. If she was a little late one morning, he'd sarcastically clap and say, finally decided to join us. At first, every comment burned her inside. She would go home and complain, why is he like this? Why can't he just stop? And day after day, her peace was gone. One day, she changed her strategy. Instead of defending herself, instead of arguing, instead of even showing irritation, she smiled, just smiled. She didn't feed his sarcasm with anger. She didn't give him the reaction he was craving. And you know what happened? He stopped. Why? Because narcissists, manipulators, toxic people, whatever you want to call them, live off your emotional energy. When you don't feed them, they starve. Now, think about this in your own life. How many times have you allowed someone else's mood to become your mood? Someone shouts at you in traffic and suddenly you carry that anger into your home. Someone criticizes you unfairly, and you replay their words 100 times in your head as if those words define your worth. Isn't it crazy how we hand over the keys of our emotions to people who don't even deserve that power? Here's the truth. You cannot control what others say or do, but you can control how much power you give them over your peace. That's real strength. That's mental toughness. Let me share another example. Imagine you're walking in the park and someone comes up to you and offers you a gift. But it's not a nice gift, it's an ugly, dirty box. Now, would you take it? Of course not. You'd say, no, thank you. I don't want that, and you walk away. Insults, manipulations, criticisms, they're like dirty gifts. People try to hand them to you, but you always have the power to refuse. The problem is most of us accept the gift, open it, and carry it with us all day. That's why we feel so heavy. The strong ones, the unstoppable ones, they know how to refuse, they smile and keep walking. Sometimes people ask me, but what if ignoring them makes me weak? Shouldn't I stand up for myself? Let me be clear, controlling your reaction doesn't mean staying silent out of fear. It means choosing your battles wisely. If a narcissist wants to drag you into endless arguments, don't give them that free entertainment. If someone insults you just to get a rise out of you, silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. You are not ignoring them because you can't fight back. You're ignoring them because you refuse to waste your energy on nonsense, that is real power. Think about a mirror. If you stand in front of a mirror and smile, what do you see? A smile. If you frown, you see a frown. The mirror only reflects what you give it. Toxic people are like mirrors. They reflect back the chaos you hand them. The more you shout, the more they shout. The more you argue, the more they argue. But what if you don't give them anything to reflect? Suddenly, the mirror has nothing to show. That's how you break the cycle. One of the greatest mental strengths you can develop is the ability to pause. Just pause. When someone says something cruel, instead of instantly reacting, take a breath. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Does this matter in the bigger picture of my life? 90% of the time, the answer will be no. Imagine how much peace you would gain if you stopped reacting to every provocation, every criticism, every attempt to control you. Let me tell you this, your reaction is your power. Don't give it away so cheaply. If you can master the art of choosing your response, If you can walk into any room, face any person, still remain calm, centered, and unshakable. That's what makes you mentally strong and unstoppable. So, if the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, don't react. Instead, smile, stay calm, and remember, you are the only one who decides how you feel. If, when you stop letting them control your emotions, you don't just win the moment, you win your life. If there's a beautiful truth about life that many people overlook, you teach others how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you encourage. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are drawing lines that tell people how far they can go with you. The problem is, when you don't draw those lines clearly, toxic people, narcissists, and manipulators take advantage of the empty space. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a friend who constantly calls you only when they need something? Maybe they need money, maybe they need advice, maybe they need your time. But when you're in need, suddenly their phone is always busy. Or maybe you've had a relative who never respects your privacy. They show up unannounced. If they interfere in your choices, and when you try to explain, they laugh it off and say, "Come on, don't be so sensitive." Now, if you've been in those situations, you know how draining they are. And here's the thing, if you don't set boundaries, people like that will keep taking and taking until there's nothing left of your energy, your peace, or your confidence. Boundaries are not about being rude. They are about self-respect. They are not walls to isolate you from people. They are doors that you control. You decide who enters, how far they go, and when it's time for them to leave. Strong people are not the ones who say yes to everything. They are the ones who know when to say no. Think about this. Imagine your home has no doors, no windows, no locks. Anyone can walk in, open your fridge, sit on your couch, or even damage your furniture. How long would your home remain peaceful? Not long at all. That's what happens when you live without boundaries, your mind and heart become a house where anyone can walk in and leave their mess. But when you set boundaries, it's like installing strong doors. You still welcome people, but you decide who enters and who doesn't. That's not cruelty. That's wisdom. Let me share with you a story. A young man once told me about his workplace where his boss would keep piling work on him. Every day, new tasks, longer hours, more pressure. At first, he thought, if I keep saying yes, they'll appreciate me more. But instead, the opposite happened, the more he said yes, the more they gave him. His weekends disappeared, his health declined, and his stress skyrocketed. One day, he decided to do something different. He politely but firmly said, I can take this much work, but not more. If there are extra tasks, they'll have to be reassigned. You know what happened? His boss didn't fire him. His boss respected him because he showed he respected himself. That's the magic of boundaries. People may not like them at first, especially narcissists who thrive on control. But in the long run, boundaries earn you respect. And more importantly, they preserve your mental strength. Now let's talk about why boundaries are so hard for many people. The biggest reason is guilt. We think saying no makes us selfish. We think rejecting someone's demand means we're unkind. But the truth is, saying yes when your heart is screaming no is not kindness, it's self-betrayal. If you keep betraying yourself to please others, you may keep people happy for a while, but you'll slowly destroy your own happiness. Here's a daily life example. Imagine your phone battery is down to 5%. You need to charge it, but your friend keeps playing games on it. If they keep using it, the phone will die, but you're too scared to say, stop. What happens? The phone shuts down. That's what happens to us when we don't set boundaries, we allow others to drain our battery until there's nothing left. But if you take the phone back, plug it in and recharge it, that's not selfish. That's necessary, because only when your phone is charged can you use it to help others. The same goes for you, you must protect your energy first if you want to truly be there for the people you love. Sometimes people will test your boundaries. They'll say, you've changed, or you're so difficult now, or you don't care about me anymore. That's because your boundaries are breaking their old habits. But remember, if someone gets upset because you're no longer letting them control you, that's not your problem. That's their problem. Their discomfort is proof that your boundaries are working. And here's the most inspiring part. Once you set boundaries, your relationships actually improve. Because now they are based on respect, not manipulation. You no longer give from exhaustion, you give from abundance. You no longer tolerate disrespect, you invite only those who value you. And slowly, if your circle becomes filled with people who truly appreciate you for who you are, not just for what they can take from you. So let me leave you with this thought. If boundaries are a sign of strength, not weakness, they are the armor that protects your peace, the shield that guards your energy, and the sword that cuts through manipulation. When you set boundaries like a warrior, you stop living as a victim of people's demands and start living as the protector of your own peace. And that, my friends, is how you become mentally strong and unstoppable. Every single person sitting here today carries a story of pain. Some of it is visible, like betrayal, rejection, humiliation. Some of it is invisible, like the silent nights when you cried yourself to sleep, the battles inside your mind that no one ever knew about. Pain is something we all share. But here's the difference. Some people let pain break them, and others use that same pain to rise higher than ever before. The question is, what will you do with yours? You see, pain by itself doesn't define you. It's what you do with that pain that decides who you become. A narcissist might insult you, mock your dreams, make you feel small. Life may throw you situations that test you to your core. But what if I told you that those very wounds can become your wisdom? That every scar you carry can be the source of your strength. Let me share an example. A young woman once told me how her father constantly belittled her growing up. No matter what she did, it was never enough. If she scored 90, he would ask, why not 95? If she tried to express herself, he would shut her down. She grew up doubting her worth. That pain was heavy. It could have easily crushed her spirit. But instead of letting it define her as not good enough, she made a choice. She said, I will never make anyone else feel the way I felt. I will become a teacher who lifts students up instead of tearing them down. Today, she is not only a respected teacher, but also a source of inspiration for hundreds of kids. She turned her pain into power. Now think about your own life. How many times have you said, why me? Why is this happening to me? What if you change that question to, what is this teaching me? Pain, when you resist it, becomes suffering. But pain, when you accept it as a teacher, becomes transformation. Take an everyday example. When you go to the gym and lift weights, what happens? Your muscles hurt, they burn, that pain is real. But what's really happening? Your muscles are tearing just a little bit, and when they repair, they grow stronger. The pain was not punishment, it was growth. Life works in the same way. The heartbreak, the rejection, the insults, they hurt, but they are shaping you into someone stronger than before. I once heard a story about a diamond. Do you know how diamonds are made? They are formed deep inside the earth under immense pressure and heat. Without that pressure, without that pain, it would just remain a piece of carbon. But because of the pressure, it becomes one of the most valuable things on earth. You and I are the same. Without challenges, without struggles, without pain, we remain ordinary. But when life puts us through the fire, that's when our true strength, our brilliance, begins to shine. The problem is, most people run from pain. They numb it with distractions, hide it behind fake smiles, or blame others endlessly. But running from pain doesn't free you, it traps you. When you face it, when you say, yes, this hurt me, but I will not let it control me, that's when you rise. That's when pain transforms into power. Let me give you another picture. Imagine you're walking barefoot and you step on a sharp stone. It hurts, right? Now, you have two choices. You can keep complaining about the pain, or you can learn to walk carefully, maybe even start wearing shoes. The pain taught you something. It made you wiser. Similarly, every time someone hurts you emotionally, instead of staying stuck in, why did this happen? Ask yourself, what strength is this building in me? Some of the most inspiring people in the world are not those who had easy lives, but those who turned their pain into fuel. They were betrayed, but instead of becoming bitter, they became wise. They were rejected, but instead of giving up, they built their own path. They were mocked, but instead of shrinking, they grew louder and stronger. And let's be clear, turning pain into power doesn't mean pretending it doesn't hurt. It does hurt. You are allowed to feel it. You are allowed to cry. But don't stop there. Feel it and then ask yourself, how can I use this? If someone's betrayal made you cautious, use that wisdom to build healthier relationships. If someone's rejection broke you, use that resilience to fuel your next attempt. If someone tried to silence you, let that pain push you to speak even louder. Here's the truth: pain is not your enemy, it's your raw material. Just like fire can burn you, or it can cook your food, just like water can drown you, or it can quench your thirst, pain can destroy you, or it can build you. The choice is yours. So the next time life hurts you, don't just ask, why me? Stand tall and say, watch me rise from this. Watch me learn from this. Watch me turn this pain into unstoppable power. Because in the end, the strongest people are not those who never suffered. The strongest people are those who took their suffering, shaped it into strength, and then used that strength to move forward, inspire others, and live with unshakable courage. And that, my friends, is how pain becomes power.